right, guys, this is the MT10 from Team Associated. It retails for $339.99. This car is a legendary car. The design's been out for many years. Every 1 or 2 years, they update the body. This is the body for 2023 and 2024. It's really nice. Now, this car was put together for a customer. He's a software engineer for Microsoft. Really good, cool guy from Washington State. That's where Microsoft is based. Called me up, wanted me to put together one of the best MT10s I've ever done, and I did it. So this is it. This is a fully upgraded MT10. We did it to the max. I mean, we took this thing to the next level. I want to talk about the MT10 before we get into the upgrades, just because it's such a special car. It's one of the few cars that the design is timeless. And what does that mean, really? The chassis and the design of it is just a step above the competition. Two cars that come to mind in the 10 scale 4-wheel drive, monster truck category is the Stampede 4x4 VXL and the Granite from Arrma, the Granite 4-wheel drive truck from Arrma. Both of those are great trucks. We sell a ton of them and everybody's happy with them for the most part. The only thing is with the Granite, you have a lot of I would say drivetrain issues. You have problems with the slipper coming undone. You have ring and pinion issues. I mean, you just have a lot of problems with the drivetrain. And I just want to tell you where I'm coming from with it. I service a ton of cars. I have I would say between 50 and 75 cars that come through my hobby shop a month. So I service a lot. I see a lot. In this brand, Team Associated, I see that the drivetrain is a step above. In its performance and the ability to keep dirt out. If you really run this thing hard in sand and dirt, it keeps a lot of the dirt and sand out of it, and it really lends itself to being more durable and reliable than something like an Arrma or even like a Traxxas. The small tiny rocks and sand get into the transmission, and it's not really pleasant. The other thing is this car has more upgrades standard than those cars. It has a center differential where the other ones have slipper clutches. It has sway bars front and rear. The other ones do not. This has high volume shocks. Now these are the updated ones, but the plastic ones that come with this kit are high volume, and they're a little bit higher volume than the ones that come with the Traxxas and the Arrma. It's just more, you're getting more for your, bang for your buck, more for your money. You have LEDs front and rear of the car, which is really nice. And it's overall a good design. The one other thing you get with this is a net. You have a net that covers all the electronics. A really nice touch from Team Associated. So not only is this a better engineered car, it's a better performing car. It is something that is just, they give you more value. So for $339.99, it's a home run. Like I said, we had the software engineer from Microsoft, one of the top guys over there. He called me up and said, listen, Mark, I've seen your videos on YouTube. He knows that we ship modified cars all around the world, especially with Team Associated. He said, I want you to put together something really special for me. So we did. All right. So the stock motor and speed control from that come in the car are basically their OEM equipment from Hobbywing. Hobbywing makes that for Team Associated. They buy it from them. It is adequate, but it's something that usually overheats. This runs very, very hot. And this motor is really good. It's powerful and it's peppy, but it's not as powerful as this. This is a 3300 kV and that is 3800 kV, and there is a difference in the RPM and the output power. It's also much smoother. This motor and speed control are eon smoother, and the speed control especially with the copper head from Castle, it runs so much cooler than the Hobbywing. So it's going to last longer. It's going to perform better. It's more of a high-end motor and speed control combo, and I definitely recommend it. It's the SCT edition. It's got CryoDrive SmartSense data log, and it's just smooth as hell. If you look at it, the way it sits in the chassis, look how perfect the size is. Now I want to show you, now that we're talking about the motor and speed control, if you're going to mount this, LRP has really good double-sided foam tapes. We sell them. I'll put the link below. We sell them on our website. They really, really stick well. There's a lot of junk companies out there that make really inferior product. And when it comes to double stick foam tape, you want to make sure you get the right brand. So LRP I don't know, I think there's like 10 or 15 of them in a pack. They're $6. Anyway, we use it to put this in the car. Notice how we pushed it all the way forward, and we actually pushed it as far towards the edge of the chassis as we can, so that we leave room for the censored cable. If you look here, the censored cable in the back of the motor down low here has no problem coming in and out. If you put the speed control, obviously if you put it here, it's going to get in the way. You always want to have a little bit of access to that, so if it pops out, you can easily pop it back in. So just make sure to mount it and put this in here just like that. The other thing you're going to have to do is the stock screws that mount the motor to this motor plate. They're a little bit too long for the Castle motor, so they won't secure properly. You have to either shave down the stock ones, or you have to use a different size. So just keep that in mind. All right. The other thing on this car that was cool we went with were the upgraded aluminum shocks. These are unbelievable. Now, I want to talk out one thing. Look how smooth these are. Very, very nice. Definitely nicer than anything from Traxxas or Arrma. They just perform so well. They're extremely smooth. They're very articulate, very high volume, and they're made so well. If you look at the shock retainers, when you twist them, on a lot of cheap Chinese like shocks that you buy on Amazon, they're very coarse when you turn these little shock retainers. These are smooth as glass. It's like they put butter on that. So the machine work is phenomenal. As far as shock setup for your MT10, you want to make sure that your shocks are level with the surface that they're sitting on. If you see this front and rear of the car, they're both level. And to achieve that, usually you want to play with the tension rings and just make sure that, like I said, when you push down, you want it to return to level. A lot of people make the mistake, a lot of the novice customers, they'll dial these all the way down, and then their car will sit up. They'll think it's supposed to be bouncy and really springy. That's not true. It's not going to handle good like that. This is exactly how you want your car to sit, front and rear. Now, different from the factory settings, we pushed the front shocks all the way to the outer hole, and we did the same thing with the rear position on the bottom. So that is definitely you want to definitely do that. It's going to let the car settle a little bit better with the shocks widened a little bit. When they're too far in, the car kind of has a tendency to sit up, and it doesn't really handle as well. So that is definitely my setting. For front and rear camber, you want to do -1 degrees front and rear. That's a good starting point. You can go from there and play with it. But if you're a safe bet is -1 rear, -1 front. You want 0 toe in. Just basically make it 0 degree toe in, which is basically dead straight. And the car is going to drive like a dream. Overall, this is my pick for a 10 scale car. We sell a ton of them. We sell a lot of modified, especially a lot of modified versions of these cars. We send them all over the country, and we also ship these to Europe as well. A lot of people contact me, and like I said, we put together these MT10s. We also do a lot of Pro 4s from Team Associate, but we do a lot of these cars to spec, and we make a lot of people around the world happy with them. They're very good performing cars. They're extremely reliable. Part support is very, very good, and you're not going to be let down on the performance again. Just to go over how this car performs in the air, there is nothing even close for air control. When you launch this car in the air and you manipulate the throttle to do flips and backflips, you control the attitude. This car is going to control and jump a lot better than anything from Traxxas or Arrma. And that is no exaggeration. We installed front and rear RPM A-arms, front and back. They are going to be something they're basically unbreakable. So they make them of a certain plastic, and they're more durable than the stock arms. Our customer wanted these, and we gave them to him. Now, one thing I will tell you, the tolerance on RPM is extremely tight, and it causes binding. And you definitely don't want that for handling. So if you're going to be putting together a high-performance car and you have binding, it's not going to handle as good. So what you have to do is you have to use a 1/8 drill bit, and you have to drill out the inner side of all the A-arms so that when you let the A-arm go, it should flop back and forth with absolutely zero binding. A lot of people make the mistake. They bore them out and they just let them, they basically make them a little bit loose where they fall. They don't just need to fall, they need to fall and go back and forth. That's how you know you're going to have good and equal articulation on all of the suspension. You definitely want to make note of that. That is very important for your handling of your car, and I'm very into handling. As all you guys know from my previous videos, I'm very into handling. Now, for tires, we chose the Proline Mashers. They come with different offsets. We chose the 1/2 inch because we wanted to make it nice and wide. And these tires have a very sticky compound. They can be used for off-road and on-road. They're a good hybrid tire. And, tires are preference. These are my preference for this particular car. When you're choosing a tire for a car, you have to factor in how much grip it has, grip versus slip, and how it handles on that specific chassis. For this specific chassis, the Mashers are my pick. Okay, they handle the best. They have the perfect amount of slip and grip, and they really work well. Look at this wheelie bar from Team Associated. It's definitely one of the best designed wheelie bars on any monster truck in this class. It has different, obviously different settings. You can, obviously the stock setting is my favorite. Just leave it in that position and you'll be fine. But look at the quality and look at the size of those wheels and look at the position it's in. It's perfect. This car wheelies probably better than anything in its class. And it's an absolute joy to pull up and ride the wheelie. It does such a great job of doing that, and it's really addicting. Front and rear lights. The cool thing about these lights is it just doesn't have like standard lights. They actually have, a little bit bigger lights than the typical LEDs that you find from China. These are bigger, and the front are white and the rear are red. The benefit of having the red in the back is that you can actually you can tell the orientation of the car when it's far away from you. You can see which end is which, and it's a nice touch. For the servo, we went with something a little bit overkill. It's the Savox waterproof servo. It's IP67, so it's really waterproof. It's not water resistant. This thing is waterproof, and it's really, really a big deal because when you're going through puddles and mud and water, a lot of times the servos will fail when you're at the field. This is not going to fail. IP67 is good enough to keep this thing really, really running. It'll handle up to 8.4 volts. Obviously, with this car, you're going to run it, in the 7 and change volt category, and you're not going to really want to go higher than that. You have 630 ounces of torque. Really, really fast, really strong. You're not going to break the servo in this car. This servo is overkill. Right now, we're selling this for $80. Links below. This will be going up in price. This is just an introductory rate at $80, but this will be going up to probably around $100 soon. But right now we have them for $80, and that is the servo that we put in the car. Because we had such a really good servo, we had to replace the servo arm with an aluminum arm from Traxxas. This arm is like $5.99. We'll put the link below, and it's something you need if you're gonna be really wringing this thing out. You don't want to have that plastic arm in there. It's going to strip out, especially with this much power. So aluminum arm is completely necessary, and you don't want to use the ones that have the screws that hold them in. A lot of times those come loose and they work their way out. It's a pain in the ass to get them on. This is just one solid piece. It attaches with one anchor point, which is the screw that holds it on, and that's it. I don't even know why any other company would use those bolt screws that hold the servo arm on from like this way. They're really terrible, but this actually works in this car, and it works perfect. So if you're upgrading a servo on your MT10, you're going to want to definitely pay attention to the dual rates on the steering. Now on the radio, there are settings for dual rates for the steering, which means it limits the travel. You don't want to have too much travel, especially on a really powerful servo, because you're going to end up damaging it. So you want to have enough turn rate where you're going to hear the servo finish turning. If you hear any type of whining or electronic noise as you're turning left and right, that means you have too much input, and it's the servo is straining. So you want to actually dial back the dual rates until you don't hear any servo strain, and then you're good. Otherwise, like I said, you're going to ruin your servo, and you might damage your bell crank and driveline components. This servo has over 600 ounces of torque, so you definitely want to set it correctly and then go from there. The battery that we went with is the Power Hobby 5200. It's 100C. 3S battery. We put an EC5 connector on the speed control because, in my opinion, these are the biggest and the best. They have very low resistance, and they are the best choice. They really are. I've used a lot of connectors for reliability and for conductivity. They are the best choice. There's nothing better. Trust me on this one. They're IC5s. The orange are called IC5s and the blues are called EC5. They're both compatible together. Obviously, IC5 is the newer one. When you buy them to solder, you definitely want these because these are a nightmare to put on and these are easy. Now, one of the most important parts of setting up your RC car is gear mesh. A lot of people overlook this, and it is a big deal. If you have improper gear mesh, your car is not going to run correctly. And when I say improper, usually 9 times out of 10 people will over tighten the gears. They'll push the pinion against the spur a little too tight, thinking they're doing the right thing. The simple test for proper gear mesh is the rolling resistance. If you push your car forward, it shouldn't have too much resistance. It should be easy. If it's not rolling forward easily, your mesh is wrong. A lot of people or a lot of hobby shops will tell you do the paper shim, where you put a paper between the pinion and the spur. I don't find that works. It ends up being too tight anyway. The best way to do it is to you actually move this back and forth until you hear a little bit of clicking between the gears. It should be a little bit of play. If you hear that, just a little bit of play between gears, and it's really easy to do. But like I said, gear mesh is super important. It's going to determine how cool your motor and speed control run, how long your motor lasts, and how efficient your car runs. So runtime and longevity are really linked to gear mesh, and it is a big deal. So look how free this is again, super free, and that's how you want it. Another thing that you want to do to your car, especially when you're using monster truck wheels, is you want to balance the tires. And basically that is a really easy thing to do. Team Associated makes a hand balancer. You put it on the hand balancer, you'll twist the tire, and you could watch some YouTube videos on how to balance tires. They're really easy. Some people use like a sticky weight. You can buy them on Amazon. They're like little tiny lead stick-on weights, or you can use like a little putty that AKA Racing makes them. You can put putty on the inside of the rim, but balancing monster tires are a big deal for a car like this. You want the car to have perfect attitude in the air and on the ground, and balancing your wheels and tires are going to give you that. So between removing the binding from the suspension and balancing your wheels and tires, you're going to have a car that sets itself apart from something that's just opened out of the box and ran. You're going to be able to tell the difference. It's going to run a lot smoother. It's going to have a better feel to it, and you're going to enjoy the drive a lot better. So I do recommend buying a tire balancer and balancing, especially like I said, on a monster truck with big tires like this. On a short course, it would have less of an impact, but on something like this, it's going to be a big deal, especially when you're doing air control and you're jumping and you're doing flips and the car is wheelie centric. You're definitely going to want to balance your wheels and tires. Rival MT10, just to show you how special the car is several years old. The design has withstood the test of time. Other manufacturers have not caught up with it yet, in my opinion, and it's still going strong. And Team Associated has a winner on their hands. The MT10 Rival is awesome, and it's going to probably be here for a long time. It's going to probably keep selling, and we're proud of it. We're happy to provide our customers with such a great product, and we love upgrading them. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments below. If you want to do us a favor and help our channel, you can give us a thumbs up and share the video with friends. And if you really want to help us out, you can order the car from us. We usually have these in stock. You can check our website, parkflyers.com. We have a really good website. It's all brand new, and it's live inventory. If we show it that it's on the site, it's usually in stock. It is in stock, and it'll ship the next day. If you have questions, you can always call me and ask me questions. We appreciate if you do call for questions that you do buy from us. We're not a big company like Horizon or AMain. We are a small company, but we do give personalized service. You can text me or call me. You could also come into the retail shop if you're in New Jersey. So once again, it's Mark from parkflyers.com. Signing off. Once MT10 Rival, $339.99. Go and grab one. They're great and they're a lot of fun. Anyway, signing off, Mark from Park Flyers. We will see you on the next review and have a great day.